Did you know that the most powerful warriors in history rarely needed weapons to defeat their enemies? What if I told you that ancient Stoicism holds the key to conquering your adversaries without ever lifting a sword? You don't need violence to win battles. The real power lies in mastering yourself. Today we'll explore 10 Stoic techniques that will not only help you overcome your enemies, but also grow stronger in the process, all without violence. Stoicism, an ancient philosophy practiced by great minds like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, isn't just about enduring life's hardships. It's also about handling conflict, navigating adversity, and mastering your emotions in the face of enemies. Whether in personal relationships or business rivalries, conflict is inevitable. But what if you could handle these conflicts peacefully, maintaining your power and poise without ever needing violence? Let's face it, when faced with an enemy, whether a coworker trying to sabotage you, a friend betraying your trust, or someone who wronged you deeply, our first instinct is often anger. Frustration builds, and the desire for revenge can cloud our judgment. These emotions lead us into battles we might not need to fight, but Stoicism offers a different path. Instead of letting anger and hatred control you, Stoicism teaches you to stay calm, reflect, and act wisely. So, how do we apply these ancient techniques in the modern world? Let's dive into the 10 Stoic techniques that will help you handle your enemies peacefully and effectively. Number 1. Master your emotions. The Stoics teach that the first and most crucial step to defeating an enemy is mastering your own emotions. It may sound simple, but in practice, it's incredibly challenging. Think about the last time you were deeply frustrated or angry. Did you find it easy to keep your cool? Most of us struggle in those moments. Anger, fear, frustration, and even jealousy are natural human responses to conflict. But as the Stoics wisely pointed out, they are also vulnerabilities. When we let our emotions control us, we surrender our power to the enemy. The real mastery lies in controlling your emotions, which in turn allows you to control the entire situation. You see, when we lose our temper, we lose our ability to think clearly. Anger clouds judgment, fear paralyzes action, and frustration leads to impulsive decisions that often make the situation worse. In the heat of conflict, emotions can blind us to the long-term consequences of our actions. And what does that lead to? Regret. Most of the time, after an outburst, we realize that our emotional reaction only escalated the situation or weakened our position. This is why mastering your emotions is the foundation of Stoic wisdom. The ancient Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, practiced this every day. He famously wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This power over your mind is what the Stoics called apatheia, which is not about becoming indifferent or numb, but rather about being in complete control of your emotional responses. In moments of crisis, this mastery is your greatest asset. When you remain calm while your adversary is enraged or losing composure, you hold the upper hand. That's where true power lies. Imagine this scenario. You're in a tense meeting at work, and a coworker starts attacking your ideas, maybe even your character. They're loud, disruptive, and clearly trying to provoke you. How easy would it be to lash back, to defend yourself aggressively or make a cutting remark? But the Stoic response would be the opposite. Instead of getting caught up in the drama, you remain calm. You listen, you breathe, you don't react immediately, but instead allow their words to pass by like a breeze. In that moment, your calmness is your strength. Your enemy, in this case your coworker, is expecting a fight. They're hoping to rattle you. When you don't give them that satisfaction, their power over you diminishes. This practice of emotional mastery is not about suppressing your feelings, but about acknowledging them without letting them control your actions. Epictetus, another great Stoic philosopher, taught that it's not the events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. In the heat of conflict, it's essential to separate the facts from our emotional reactions. Your coworker's criticism or attack is just a fact. It's something that happened. But how you interpret it, whether you choose to feel insulted, angry, or defensive, is entirely up to you. One of the best ways to start mastering your emotions is through a practice the Stoics called premeditatio malorum, or negative visualization. This technique involves preparing your mind in advance for challenges or conflicts that might arise. Before stepping into a meeting, a negotiation, or any potentially tense situation, take a moment to visualize the worst-case scenario. Imagine someone trying to provoke you or challenge you aggressively. Picture the discomfort or the anger that might arise in response. But instead of dreading it, accept it. By preparing yourself mentally for these emotions, you make yourself less vulnerable when they actually happen. You've already anticipated them, and because of that, they lose their power over you. Now let's be real, it's not easy. Even the Stoics acknowledged that mastering emotions is a lifelong practice. There will be moments when your temper flares, when fear grips you, or when frustration boils over. But that's okay. What matters is not that you never feel these emotions, but that you don't let them dictate your actions. Stoicism Stoicism is about progress, not perfection. Every time you resist the urge to react emotionally, you grow stronger. The modern world throws a lot at us: stress from work, difficult relationships, personal setbacks, and even global issues. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, and that's why Stoicism is more relevant today than ever. When you can maintain your composure, even in the face of intense challenges, people will notice. Your calmness becomes a source of strength, not just for you, but for those around you. This is what leadership looks like. One final thought. Stoics believed that by mastering your emotions, you actually transform your enemies into mere obstacles, and obstacles into opportunities. Every conflict, every challenge becomes a chance to practice patience, wisdom, and resilience. In mastering yourself, you don't just win a temporary battle, you achieve a long-lasting victory over your inner turmoil. And that, my friend, is far more powerful than any outward victory over an enemy. So remember this: the next time you face an adversary, whether it's in your personal life, at work, or even within yourself, don't let emotions take the wheel. Take a deep breath, pause, reflect, and then act, not out of anger or fear, but out of calmness and strength. Master your emotions, and you will master any situation. 2. Practice the dichotomy of control. The second Stoic principle that will help you overcome any adversary without violence is mastering the dichotomy of control. Simply put, this concept teaches us to focus on what we can control and to accept what we cannot. It sounds simple, but it holds the key to lasting peace of mind in the face of conflict. Let's break it down. In any situation, whether it's a disagreement, a betrayal, or a personal attack, there are things within your control and things that are not. The Stoics remind us that our enemies' actions, words, or intentions are entirely outside of our control. We cannot change what others do, how they think, or what they might say about us. Trying to control these external factors only leads to frustration, stress, and emotional exhaustion. The Stoic approach is to let go of this need for control over what others do. But while we can't control what our enemies or adversaries do, we have full control over how we choose to respond. This is where your true power lies. You can't control if someone tries to undermine you, but you can control whether you react with anger or with calmness. You can't stop someone from criticizing you, but you can control whether you let it affect your self-worth. Let's imagine a scenario. You're at work, and a colleague starts spreading rumors about you. Naturally, this makes you angry. You might feel the urge to confront them, argue, or defend yourself. But let's pause for a moment and apply the dichotomy of control. Can you control the fact that they chose to spread rumors? Number. Can you control what others might believe because of those rumors? Again, no. But you can control your reaction. You can choose to stay composed, to rise above it, and to let your actions and integrity speak louder than the gossip. By focusing only on what's within your control, you keep your peace and maintain your dignity. The dichotomy of control also protects us from unnecessary suffering. We often waste mental energy worrying about things we can't change, how others will react, what they'll think, or the outcome of situations beyond our influence. The Stoics believed that by letting go of this need to control external outcomes, we free ourselves from a lot of stress and anxiety. Instead, they encourage us to direct our energy toward what we can control: our thoughts, our actions, and our mindset. In essence, the dichotomy of control shifts the focus inward. It helps you build resilience because you stop being at the mercy of external circumstances. You gain clarity and strength by realizing that no matter what happens outside of you, your inner state is your own to command. So, the next time you face an adversary or find yourself in a challenging situation, remember the dichotomy of control. Your enemy's actions? Outside your control. But your response? Fully within your power. And that's where your real strength lies. By embracing this Stoic principle, you stop wasting energy on things beyond your reach and empower yourself to respond with wisdom and poise in every situation. 3. Embrace indifference. The third Stoic technique to overcoming your enemy without violence is to practice indifference, what the Stoics called apatheia. To a Stoic, external events don't define us. This includes the actions, words, and opinions of others, especially those of our enemies. When you truly understand this, you realize that you don't need your enemy's validation, nor do you need to be affected by their insults. Think about it. How often do we get caught up in the opinions of others? A harsh word, a disrespectful comment, or even a deliberate insult can linger in our minds for days, sometimes longer. It gnaws at us, affecting our mood and self-worth. But why should someone else's words hold that much power over you? The Stoics would say that the opinion of your enemy is nothing more than an external event, completely beyond your control and, ultimately, irrelevant. The practice of indifference is not about ignoring what others say or pretending that it doesn't bother you. Instead, it's about recognizing that these external things, whether it's praise, criticism, or insults, have no real bearing on who you are. Your character, your values, and your actions are what define you, not someone else's words. When you embrace indifference, you rob your enemies of the power they think they have over you. Take this scenario. Imagine someone is insulting you, trying to provoke a reaction. They're expecting you to get angry, to defend yourself, or to retaliate. But instead, you remain calm. You don't react to their words because to you, their insults are meaningless. They don't affect your sense of self-worth or how you see yourself. In that moment, you've just taken away their power. They've failed to control your emotions, and by practicing indifference, you've won without even engaging in a fight. Epictetus, a famous Stoic philosopher, said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This is the essence of embracing indifference. By learning to remain unaffected by external events, especially the words and actions of your enemies, you maintain control over your inner peace. Your enemy's insults? Just noise. You decide whether to let them in or not. And when you choose indifference, you choose strength. So, the next time someone tries to tear you down with their words, practice indifference. Stay calm, stay centered, and remember that their insults only have as much power as you give them. And in choosing indifference, you choose to rise above. Use negative visualization. The fourth Stoic technique is a powerful mental exercise called negative visualization. It may sound counterintuitive at first. Why would anyone want to imagine the worst-case scenario with their enemy? But for the Stoics, this practice isn't about dwelling on fear or negativity. It's about preparing your mind for any outcome, no matter how difficult or unpleasant. Once you've accepted the worst, nothing can faze you. Negative visualization involves mentally preparing yourself for the possible challenges or confrontations that could arise with your enemy. Imagine the worst-case scenario. Maybe they betray you, humiliate you in public, or try to sabotage your reputation. Instead of dreading these possibilities or avoiding the thought, the Stoic approach is to face them head-on in your mind. Visualize these events happening, and more importantly, imagine yourself calmly and rationally dealing with them. This practice serves two key purposes. First, it helps you to become emotionally resilient. By visualizing the worst-case scenario, you remove the element of surprise. If the situation does play out in real life, you've already faced it in your mind. It doesn't catch you off guard, and because of that, you can respond with greater composure. Second, negative visualization allows you to confront your fears directly. When you imagine the worst, you realize that even the most challenging outcomes are not as terrifying as they seem. You've already faced them mentally, and by doing so, you've stripped them of their power. Think of it this way. If you've mentally prepared for your enemy's worst behavior, then anything less than that becomes easier to handle. And if the worst does happen, you're already prepared. The Stoics believed that this type of visualization strengthens your mind by creating a sense of acceptance. Once you've accepted the worst, there's nothing left to fear. You become unshakable. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and a great Stoic philosopher, often practiced negative visualization. He would imagine the most difficult challenges a ruler could face: betrayal, loss, or political unrest. By doing this, he conditioned his mind to be ready for any eventuality. It wasn't about being pessimistic. It was about building resilience and acceptance. So the next time you find yourself worrying about a conflict with your enemy, try this Stoic exercise. Imagine the worst, without fear. Accept it, and when the time comes, you'll find that no matter what happens, you can face it with calmness and confidence. Negative visualization isn't about fearing the future, it's about mastering it. 5. Take the high ground, literally and figuratively. The fifth Stoic technique for overcoming an enemy is to always take the high ground, both literally and figuratively. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, frequently reminded himself to rise above conflict. By taking the moral high ground, you safeguard something far more valuable than any victory: your integrity and honor. These are the things no enemy can ever take away. In the heat of conflict, it's tempting to stoop to your enemy's level, to fight back with insults, schemes, or aggression. But what does that really accomplish? You might win a temporary battle, but at what cost? The Stoics believed that true strength comes from staying true to your values, even in the face of adversity. By taking the moral high ground, you preserve your dignity and avoid the traps of petty revenge or anger. This doesn't just mean avoiding physical conflict. It means refusing to engage in dishonest, harmful, or degrading behavior. When your enemy attacks your character or tries to provoke you, the best response is to rise above. Let them sink into the mud while you remain steady, focused, and calm. You hold the real power when you refuse to let them drag you down. By taking the high ground, you also send a message to others, and to yourself. You're showing that no matter how fierce the opposition, your principles are unshakable. This kind of strength is something your enemy cannot take from you. In the end, it's not just about defeating them. It's about maintaining your integrity through every challenge. Sixth practice: delayed response. The sixth Stoic technique to overcoming conflict is to practice delayed response. When someone tries to provoke you, whether with insults, anger, or aggression, the natural instinct is to react immediately, often with equal hostility. But the Stoics believed in the power of pausing, cooling down, and responding with reason instead of rage. In the heat of the moment, our emotions can cloud our judgment. We often say or do things in anger that we later regret. The Stoics recognized this and taught that delaying your response gives you time to reflect and choose a wiser course of action. Instead of letting your emotions dictate your reaction, you take control of the situation by taking control of yourself. Imagine someone insults you or criticizes your work. The immediate urge might be to fire back with a sharp reply or get defensive. But what if you waited? What if you took a deep breath, walked away for a few minutes, or even slept on it? By delaying your response, you give your emotions time to settle and your mind time to clear. You can then respond calmly, with thoughtfulness, instead of lashing out impulsively. The Stoic philosopher Seneca said, "Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it." By practicing delayed response, you prevent anger from taking control and ensure that your actions align with reason and wisdom. This technique not only diffuses conflict but also preserves your integrity and composure. Next time someone tries to provoke you, resist the urge to react immediately. Take a pause, reflect, and respond when you're calm. This simple delay can turn a heated situation into one where you maintain control and dignity. 7. Memento mori. Remember you will die. The seventh Stoic technique is perhaps one of the most profound. Memento mori. Remember you will die. This ancient reminder of mortality is not meant to be morbid, but instead to put life, and especially conflict, into perspective. When you reflect on the reality that life is short and uncertain, many of the battles we engage in seem far less significant. Is this argument, this conflict, really worth your energy? Will it matter in a year, or even in a month? The Stoics believed that constantly reflecting on your mortality helps you live a more intentional and meaningful life. In moments of anger, frustration, or conflict, they would remind themselves, "This too shall pass." Life is fleeting, and spending it consumed by petty disputes or trying to best an enemy wastes precious time and energy. When viewed through the lens of mortality, most conflicts fade in importance. They are small moments in the grand tapestry of life, not worth sacrificing your peace of mind. Memento Mori encourages us to ask ourselves, is this battle worth the time I have left on this earth? When you remember that your days are numbered, you begin to choose your battles more wisely. You focus on what truly matters, your relationships, personal growth, and inner peace, and you let go of conflicts that are merely distractions from living a good life. The Stoics remind us that death is the great equalizer. Whether you win or lose in conflict, in the end, we all meet the same fate. So why waste your time on battles that will soon be forgotten? When you adopt the practice of memento mori, you gain clarity. You realize that many of the conflicts we encounter are fleeting and trivial in the larger scope of life. So the next time you find yourself in a dispute, remember, memento mori. Reflect on your mortality and ask yourself if this conflict truly matters. Most likely, it won't. And by letting it go, you free yourself to focus on what does. 8. Think of your enemy as a teacher. The 8th Stoic principle is a powerful shift in perspective. Think of your enemy as a teacher. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once taught that our enemies can be our greatest teachers. This idea may seem surprising, but when you begin to see every conflict as an opportunity to learn, you realize that even your adversaries offer valuable lessons. In the heat of conflict, it's easy to see your enemy as an obstacle, someone to defeat or overcome. But Epictetus believed that every adversary, every challenge, is a mirror that reflects our weaknesses and strengths. What does your enemy reveal about you? Do they expose your impatience, your pride, or your inability to forgive? By viewing your enemy as a teacher, you start asking the important questions. What can I learn from this conflict? What is it revealing about myself? Your adversary can teach you valuable lessons about others as well. They might show you the darker sides of human nature, jealousy, manipulation, or aggression. But in observing these traits in others, you gain insight into how you too might act in difficult situations. You begin to understand the motivations behind people's actions and can develop empathy and wisdom in navigating future conflicts. Consider this. The next time someone betrays you, insults you, or works against you, ask yourself, what is this person teaching me? Maybe they're teaching you patience, the ability to stay calm under pressure, or the power of forgiveness. Or maybe they're showing you areas where you need to grow, like setting boundaries or standing up for yourself. When you embrace this mindset, even the harshest enemies become valuable sources of wisdom. In every conflict, there's a lesson waiting to be discovered. Your enemy may not realize it, but they're offering you a chance to grow. So instead of seeing them as someone to defeat, see them as a teacher, and let their actions guide you toward becoming a stronger, wiser, and more resilient person. 9. Forgiveness is the ultimate victory. The 9th Stoic technique is forgiveness. While it may seem counterintuitive, forgiveness is the ultimate victory in any conflict. When you forgive, you are no longer bound by the resentment, anger, or bitterness that ties you to the conflict. Your enemy loses all control over you. Forgiveness, in this sense, is not a sign of weakness but of immense strength. The Stoics believed that holding on to anger or seeking revenge only weighs you down. It keeps you emotionally tied to the person who wronged you, giving them continued power over your thoughts and feelings. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor, often reflected on the importance of letting go. He recognized that harboring grudges was pointless and damaging, not just to the person wronged, but to their inner peace. When you forgive, you break free from this emotional prison. You take back control over your life and your happiness. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or excusing harmful behavior. It means accepting what has happened, releasing the need for retribution, and moving forward with a clear mind and heart. By doing this, you refuse to let the actions of others define your emotional state or your future. Consider this. When you forgive, your enemy no longer holds power over you. Their insults, betrayals, or harmful actions lose their sting. In forgiving, you rise above the conflict and become untouchable by their negativity. Forgiveness disarms your enemy entirely. They may still try to harm you, but you are no longer affected because you've chosen peace over anger. Forgiveness is not about letting your enemy win. It's about winning the battle within yourself. It is the ultimate Stoic victory because it frees you from the chains of conflict and grants you the greatest reward, peace of mind. By choosing forgiveness, you take the higher ground, reclaim your power, and walk away with your dignity intact. Lead by example. The final and most profound Stoic technique for handling conflict is to lead by example. Sometimes the most powerful way to defeat an enemy is not through confrontation or argument, but through the strength of your actions. By demonstrating calm, rational, and kind behavior, you inspire those around you, including your adversaries, to follow your lead. Your actions speak louder than any words ever could. Amid conflict, it's easy to get caught up in the emotions of the moment. Anger, frustration, and defensiveness can cloud your judgment and escalate the situation. But the Stoics understood that by maintaining composure and acting with integrity, you set a powerful example. When you respond with grace and reason, even in the face of provocation, you show a different path, one of maturity, control, and respect. Consider this scenario. You're involved in a disagreement with a colleague. Instead of reacting with hostility or getting drawn into an argument, you choose to stay calm, listen carefully, and address the issue with a measured response. Your calm demeanor and thoughtful approach can diffuse the situation, and over time they can inspire your colleague to adopt a similar attitude. By leading with your behavior, you create a ripple effect of positive change. Leading by example isn't about being perfect or never feeling anger. It's about choosing how you respond to conflict and showing others the value of measured and respectful behavior. When you embody the principles of Stoicism, calmness, rationality, and kindness, you indirectly challenge others to rise to the same standards. This can transform conflicts into opportunities for mutual respect and understanding. So the next time you face a challenge or an adversary, remember that your example is powerful. Lead with your actions, not just your words, and inspire those around you to follow your lead. By doing so, you not only handle the conflict more effectively, but also set a standard for others to emulate. Out of all these techniques, one stands above the rest: mastering your emotions. The ability to remain calm in the face of adversity is what separates the strong from the weak. When your enemy sees that they cannot provoke you, they lose their hold over you. This simple practice can turn the tide in any conflict. So, what have we learned? Stoicism offers 10 powerful techniques to defeat your enemy without lifting a finger. From mastering your emotions to practicing forgiveness, these techniques allow you to maintain control, stay true to yourself, and ultimately win without resorting to violence. By applying these techniques, you don't just overcome your enemies, you overcome yourself, which is the greatest victory of all. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What Stoic technique resonated with you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to check out our next video on mastering Stoic resilience. Thank you for watching Marcus the Stoic. Stay strong, stay Stoic.